We're back. It's a Sunday evening when this will be going up. I hope you're resting. I hope you don't have to work today. That is the worst. You have to work on the weekends. Today, I was having kind of a reflection on something that happened a while ago. My niece, who was at the time, I believe, like 6 or 7 years old, was super into what's that called? Where you're like an animal spirit, where you're like really into like wolves or something, and you dress up like them. It's like furry stuff, kind of. It's like proto furry stuff, right? It's like you're kind of like into the animal stuff, right? And she's like 6 or 7, not really a big deal, or it would appear that it's not a very big deal. And I remember she was kind of into the stuff. I don't really think she's into it anymore. I mean, she's like 8 or 9 now, so she's a little older. But at the time, I remember thinking, I was like talking to my sister. I'm like, you should probably watch out for this. You probably shouldn't let her walk around with any, ears or tail or anything, other than maybe like dressing up for Halloween or something. But I remember thinking, you probably should try and curb this. I mean, you don't want to just outright punish or reject it, because then that, it kind of festers resentment, but curiosity and kind of rebelliousness, and you might even push them further into it, right, than you wanted to. But one of the reasons why I think that she should watch out for this is because people don't grow out of things anymore. It seems like so many people nowadays, they are stuck in a culture forever, for life. I was having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about how fads don't really come and go anymore, right? Like, people kind of latch onto something and it kind of becomes their personality for life. Like the Funko Pop, right? The man-child kind of person who's like 35 and they're still really into whatever, Marvel, you're really into you're a Harry Potter person, you're really into Harry Potter, right? We've just actually been watching those movies. They're good movies, they came, when I grew up, they were really big, right? Like I was young when those movies were coming out. They're good movies. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with being into the stuff, right? But it's when you kind of devote your whole personality in your life to these things, where it's just like all around you, all encompassing, that's who you are, right? Or you're like even into like things like goth, right? Or you're a goth girl, or you're this person, or you're that person, and you're devoting so much time, or like a weeb, right? Anime, right? It's another one. You're devoting so much time of your personality that it's like that's who you are. I think that people used to have kind of fads and phases in their life when they were teenagers, because the world was it was interesting and new. It might have been edgy, right? People used to be goths when they were, people had their like goth phase, right? When they were like 13 to like 20, right? 13 to 17, or whatever. And then they kind of just grew out of it, and then they kind of grew up, right? People would say you kind of just grow out of it. But I think that now it seems like people, this type of mentality kind of is extended indefinitely into your adulthood. Because I see people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s who are still into goth. And I kind of think, how is that going to look when you're 60, 65 and you're a goth? Like, isn't that going to be kind of weird? Or you're a weeb. Like, isn't that going to be weird? Like, shouldn't there be kind of, isn't that like one of the things? It's like, shouldn't you be an old person? Shouldn't you be into old person things now? Like, I feel like there was a time where you'd cross over into being an adult, and you'd start doing adult things. You'd start reading the paper, and you'd start getting into foreign affairs and banking, and you would read, you would start wearing suits, you would start, But now it seems like the adolescence is just extended indefinitely. And I think it's partially because, like I just said, these cultures that used to just grip people when they were young and they were inquisitive and maybe rebellious, right? These kinds of cultures that used to grip people and then fade away when they got older, they have been extended indefinitely due to, I think, the internet. We talk about the internet and technology a lot on this channel, and I think rightfully so. It's one of the defining technologies of our lives, right? But the internet has kind of done this thing where you have the ability to find, specifically like something like Discord, right? You have the ability to find whatever community, whatever niche you want to find, and forever have this feedback loop of other people who are doing the same thing. Because you see, when you're young, when you're like a teenager, other people, all you see is the people around you. And if other people are starting to kind of grow out of things, I think you're going to start to grow out of things as well. You're going to start to say, okay, Jimmy and Johnny aren't goth anymore. Now they're getting a real job, right? They're going to college, you're getting a real job. Okay, time for me to grow out of that. But now I think that when you are always online and you're always in these communities, you can find any niche you want. There's people who are constantly feeding into that, constantly affirming that, yeah, that's fine. You can be that. You could be a furry. You can be a goth forever. Into your 30s, don't ever change, right? Don't ever cross into being an adult. There used to be this delineation between child and adult. There used to be clothes that adults would wear. There used to be things that adults would do. There used to be movies, culture used to be for adults, adult entertainment, right? Or rated R movies, right? And there used to be things for young kids. We used to have a strict delineation between being an adult and what being a child is. You go to the arcade, you play video games, you do these stupid things, right? Stupid child shit. And the adult, he drinks his coffee, he reads the newspaper, he wears a suit and tie, and there was a strict line. But I feel like now it's like that is gone, right? Children nowadays, they're all you can watch whatever you want. I remember when I was in first grade, I had a friend who asked me if I watched South Park. First grade, we're 6, right? And I at the time I thought, oh, that must be a show about, a park, right? Like I thought it was like something on PBS. I come to find out later, it's like, no, this is like Adult Swim, right? This is like an adult show. And I thought, oh, my mom would never let me watch something like that, right? That's an adult show, but he's 6 years old watching it. And even now, I mean, everybody's on the internet. Everybody is they're engulfed in adult matters all the time. Young kids are into politics. Young kids are seeing violence. They're seeing pornography. They're seeing so many adult things that, I mean, I don't even think they're good, right? But there was a level of, you shouldn't be, these things shouldn't be viewed by minors. These things shouldn't be viewed by people who are young because they can't really handle them. They can't rationalize them. They don't know the reasons behind them or really what's going on. They haven't been through these things through adult matters in order to actually comprehend what's going on. The only thing they really know is the TV shows they watch and the video games they play. It's just this very surface level shit, right? But I think because we've broken down these kind of delineation between child and adult, children, because of the internet, people grow up, they stay in a teenage fad forever. There's no crossing into, okay, I'm being an adult now. There's no marker that actually makes them feel responsible or feel like an adult. And they just carry that on. I mean, there's this it's all mixed together, right? Being a child, being an adult things, children things, they're all together. So the feeling of people growing out of things, people changing, people actually passing in that rite of passage into being an adult, well, that doesn't exist anymore. So people carry on their childhood indefinitely. And then and I think this is partially why people are not working. People aren't checking out of society. People don't feel a duty or responsibility to anything, right? To their family, to having a family, to their workplace, to their coworkers, to other members of society. We just saw a school shooting recently. I mean, we see them all the time, but with the one recently in Nashville, I mean, this guy was totally warped by the internet. Most of them, I feel like, are, at least. But this guy specifically, he was just totally warped by memes and just disgusting stuff on the internet that he felt the need to go and shoot up his classmates. That's a very serious thing. Life and death is a very serious thing, right? Not to a kid, right? To a kid, it's just like playing Call of Duty. It's like, whatever, who cares? And there's no, the gravity there with life and death is just not present in children. Children are dumb. Giving them so much adult culture and that they can't grapple with it. They can't grapple with life. They can't grapple with having, with their duties and responsibilities to their fellow man. So much so that they just go and commit heinous acts. I just tend to think that this is going to be a real issue, and it's already an issue, but I think it's going to become even worse. The more that people kind of run from adulthood, right? And how there's no clear distinction between what even is an adult anymore and what is a child. Is it just an age? Is it just a number? No, there was more to it than that. There was a culture, there was an idea, there was a mentality behind it, behind being a kid. I'm a kid, I do kid things, I act like a kid. And now I'm an adult, and now I do adult things, and I act like an adult, and I have responsibilities. And I think we should push people to grow out of things. It's time to grow up, right? It's time to grow up. You can have your likes and your hobbies. I mean, my dad still, he'll still play or talk about things of his childhood, sure. But he owns a house. He has a family. He just retired. He worked for 40 years, right? He has a lot of responsibilities and duties. So it's like I'm not saying you can't, you can't like these things. You can't like the things of your childhood. You must give them up. I'm not saying that, but I think there does need to be a mentality of it's time to move on. It's time to grow up. It's time to be adults. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and make sure to look forward to new videos in the future. I'll see you all next time.